Yo, yo, what's going on? All right, so brand new week, brand new market update. Let's start off with the DXY as we usually do. So right now we have we just swept the previous monthly low. Well, the April monthly low. We just swept that. Um yeah, this overall macro and micro bearish trend just continues to the downside. This is exactly what we've been expecting. And I did mention last week, I believe it was, that this is the next level we should be heading to. So that's where we're headed towards. As you can see, last week, we swept it last week, and then this week is already starting off slightly bearish. So that overall trend, there's nothing bullish about this. Even if we get a little retracement, a little bit of a push, it's still bearish. I'm telling you, like the market doesn't just shift bullish out of nowhere. If you take a look in the past on any asset in the world, the market takes time to shift bullish. So as long as you stick to that trend, it stays on that overall bearish trend. So it's going to take time. As you can see right here, this took from December until June. That's 6 months to shift bullish. So this still has time to go to the downside over here. It took from January and then shifted back bullish in April, 4 months, but then it went up here and continued bearish. Point is, it's gonna take more than just, a couple of days or a couple of weeks to shift to bullish. So for now, just stick to this trend, and this is good for crypto. So we should be heading towards here. Hopefully sweep this by the end of this 6 month candle. We got a little, basically 2 weeks exactly, 14 days and 5 hours. Yeah, so this is gonna close off pretty nicely. Like I mentioned, it was a 99.9% chance that this does not close off bullish. And as you can see, we got 2 weeks left. This is not shifting at all. So this overall candle will continue to the downside. And yeah, this quarter is going to close off bearish for the DXY, and the 6 month candle is going to close off bearish as well. And we'll see how low we could go. The next 2 weeks, that's still a lot of time, with this overall momentum. So we can either end up over here below 95 or somewhere within this range. I'm not going to try to pinpoint it perfectly because it's pretty pointless, but just know that we are headed to the downside, and this is good for crypto. Simple as that. And, just because the crypto market did take a little bit of a breather, I'll say. Like we had a little bit of retracements last week due to the war and whatnot, but things have already picked right back up. So it's just a little bear trap, a little liquidity grab. That's just what the market does, like that's just what it is. There's nothing, there's gonna be times of uncertainty, but it's not doing nothing drastic. We're not sweeping crazy lows. We're not dumping like crazy. This is a big dump, but we're not getting that. We're not getting big falls like this at all, like on a weekly, monthly basis. Like these are monthly candles. Look at the monthly candles, still bullish after last week. So this is total one. We're headed towards a new all-time high. We're headed there, like can happen before this quarter ends. Still possible. 14 days left, still a possibility. I would not be surprised. 14 days is a lot still, so we'll see what we could get. But this macro trend still intact. This macro trend still intact. This one might not hit the all-time high before the quarter ends, but next quarter I can definitely see it happening. So we'll see what kind of push this gets. And then total three, same thing. Total three, we're just ranging here. The market would not just be ranging here if it was bearish. Like it's preparing for a push, the next push higher. Very similar to what it did here, as you could see. Look, it made the low and it ranged sideways, and then pushed. We made the low. We're ranging sideways. We could probably range sideways. Look, maybe we range sideways for the next 2 weeks, and then we push in quarter three. Possibility, but this is clearly on an uptrend still. So just ride that wave to the upside. We got Bitcoin. Bitcoin's looking strong, continuing to look great. I don't see nothing bearish about this chart. This is definitely headed towards 120K next. Ignore all the noise. Bitcoin's still going higher. Like I'm just keeping it a buck with you guys. There's nothing bearish about this chart. People saying, "Oh, Bitcoin's gonna go to zero." Bitcoin will never go to zero. Like to say Bitcoin's gonna go to zero is insanity. Zero is all the way down here. Like It's not gonna, the worst case scenario, if something, crazy happened to Bitcoin, it would still range at a high price. It just won't continue higher, but Bitcoin's not gonna go to zero. So just once again, cancel that out of your head. This is still going higher. It's still doing well. And in the short term, we're headed towards 120K. I believe it's gonna pick up with aggression above 110. That's what I believe. So we'll see if we could hit these 130s quicker than usual, than expected, and then we could head towards this 170 to 180K range up here. Because this is what I believe is the minimum this run. Um, it can happen in the next 6 months. It definitely can. I believe we get 175 to 225 max. That's my opinion based off the technicals. I don't care what anybody else says. Based off the technicals, I believe we could top somewhere here, which is why we've had this here for a long time. So we'll see what we could get in the next 6 months. But the end of the year is usually when what? When the market moves the most. If you take a look back at 2017, hold on. If you take a look back at 2017, look what happened in the last 6 months of the year. So this was literally December. Let's go to June. So this was June right here. Already above all-time high. And then for the next 6 months, it literally went push, push, little bearish candle, and then push, push, push. So 5 out of the 6 months, it had bullish candle closure. So we'll see. We will see what we could get at the end of, these next 2 quarters towards the end of this year. And this is going to cause tons of euphoria. And then look right back into a bear market. And it did its typical, retracement, 84%. So even let's say this hit 175, let's just go to 180. Let's say 75% retracement. Yeah, that would be I couldn't see that. I couldn't see that personally, which is why I believe we might go a bit higher. That's just my opinion, but we'll see. I don't like to get too ahead. I like to just adapt as things happen. Let's just say at 20. Yeah, because I can't see us coming below these areas anymore. So it's either two things. This gets extended and the market pushes higher, and then the retracements get smaller, which is a possibility. Um, or we go end up going on a parabolic run, and then the retracements still stay within the 70 to 80% range. So let's just say we go to, I don't know, 350. See, I can't even see that. I can't see a drop that big from there. But you never know. We never know. So, we'll just have to take it one step at a time. Because we did have this entire consolidation right here, which took up literally 6 months, and then we had this one, which took up a bunch of months as well. So that's why the next 6 months can be pretty aggressive because we had this and this one. So now I feel like this next push can make up for a lot of it. So we'll just have to see how we end up looking in the next few months. But everything's lining up for, upside price action. ETH looking good as well. This is holding up well. Definitely gearing up. This is definitely gearing up. So nice little zone right there. Hit the zone again, and it's headed towards here next. ETH is headed towards like 3,800 to 4K next, and then I'll probably do the same thing up here. I'll probably hit here, and then we'll probably cool down a bit, maybe retrace a bit, and then push higher. I'm just way ahead of the curve, but I can see the play. I could definitely see that yeah, this is clearly on an uptrend. So just gotta ride that wave. Okay, XRP. So XRP ended up getting another retracement. So we have this big weekly zone, I believe. Let's see. I believe it's a monthly. Okay, yeah, so it's a monthly wick zone right here. As you can see, there's monthly wick zone. So look, this is this entire wick right here. And I'm gonna lock it real quick. And then if you go down to the lower time frames for hour, for example, it's this big zone right here. So look how we touch this. So look, we touched this right here, came back up, swept these highs. And I mentioned, 264, 265. I remember I was telling that was the next short-term target, and we ended up getting a retracement from there. This is why I say take it one step at a time because the market loves to play these games. It loves to sometimes sweep highs. It'll sweep some highs and then it'll come right back down. And that's exactly what it did in this scenario, especially XRP. It's done this for years. So the next short-term target, as I've been saying, is roughly $3. Now, it can do the same thing. It can come up to $3 or maybe even slightly above, maybe like 330, 320, 330, or even 350, and then come back down and then cool down here again. Same thing is doing over here. So, but as you can see, it'll start building zones on the way up to the upside. So in this case, it built this overall zone. We hit in here, we pushed out. We hit in here, we pushed out. We came back in here, we pushed out. We hit this little area. We came back in here again. And then we hit this little demand zone, touched the overall macro zone one more time. And now it's building right back up. So this whole time, as I've been mentioning, it's just been in an accumulation range. If it does come back down, it's just stacking even more. We can't control what exactly it's gonna do, how many times it's gonna come into these areas. But if you literally study the price action from the past, the market does this over and over. Look, it did over here. In this scenario, it was focusing on this overall zone right here. Look, if you make this a zone, look how many times it touched this. And then over here, look, it came inside this one. And then these came inside this one. So this is why I look at the market in this way. We swept the previous monthly candle low, and now we're turning right back to the upside. So XRP is looking good. We should be preparing for a new all-time high pretty soon. Can it happen in the next couple of weeks? Yes, it still can. Still can. This weekly candle. The monthly candle is bullish. It's mid-June and the monthly candle is bullish, meaning like we haven't had too much happen, but all of a sudden now we're getting this movement, right? So the monthly candle can easily close, up here. Definitely a possibility. We can maybe touch $4. Let's go to the weekly candle. Let's see how this week closes, but I expect this week to close. The fact that we already touched this, I expect this week to close at 270, roughly between 270 and 290. That's where I could see the end of this week closing. And then we'll have one more weekly candle, and that can possibly close, either, $3 or 350, 360. So that's what I could see, just looking into the future. If this week ends up closing at 270, then yeah, we can then definitely close the quarter above $3. If not, then we'll have to just reanalyze and then we'll probably get that price action in quarter three. Overall, though, everything is looking great. This is just a huge accumulation range. If it does come back down here, that's just more accumulation for the most part. This is clearly the accumulation zone right here. All right, good old syrup. So syrup has been killing it. This actually moved to first place in my portfolio for a bit. Right now, XRP and syrup are battling for first place. Um, yeah, we already know. We're just riding this trend, right? So, I'm glad this one finally woke up. The Maple chart was always bullish, but we just got stuck in some I wouldn't even say stuck. We got blessed with more opportunities to buy, right? Because as you can see, we're playing the macro game, so we just got blessed with many more opportunities to stack lower and lower our overall average. So, yeah, this is headed towards 70 cents. This is the high, so we'll probably hit this and then we'll probably cool down similar to what it did over here. I'll probably retrace a bit and then continue. But I definitely want to see how quickly we consolidate here because after we this consolidation is finished, we'll then start getting price discovery, and that's gonna be fun. Especially with everything going on with Syrup and the Maple team, it's gonna be really fun. So I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, this one slowly working its way up to 70 cents. And then it's gonna likely cool down. I'm not taking any profits there. You can if you want to. Maybe, maybe once we hit there and I see where everything's at, maybe I'll take some chips off the table and I'll let you guys know. But for the majority of this run, I'm still playing the overall strategy of waiting for the second half of the year. It's not a bad time to take some chips off, but for the majority of my position, I'm still waiting for, quarter three, quarter four at this point. All right, SHX. SHX has been doing well. So, as you can see, this white zone right here is a monthly zone, I believe. Yep. So it's a monthly zone. Let's just show that real quick. So this is the highest point right here on the chart. So this is a monthly zone and then we pushed into it. I definitely wanted to see how last week closed. As you can see, last week closed with the candle closed inside of this week of this monthly zone, and we went above this specific area as well, wicked above it, and we closed above. What does that mean? Bulls in control, which we already knew. We already knew. These lows are holding, these lows are holding. As you can see, look, this is literally just a low accumulating demand zone, push. A low, accumulating demand zone, push. So we're headed over 3 cents next. Hopefully we get, some aggressive parabolic pushes because I definitely want to see this past this 5 cent range. In quarter three, I want to see it. I personally want to see it because that then gives us the opportunity to possibly break 19 to, we could hit within these ranges 20 to 50 cents in quarter four. Very, very possible. But we definitely want to see this break in quarter three. That's going to be some great, that's going to be amazing for all SHX holders, especially all of you who've been buying from, back when I first started mentioning that I was starting to stack up over here. I bought some more over here. I bought some more over here. I bought some more over here. And they still gave us more opportunities. And now we're just riding the overall wave and then we get out. So that's how you play this overall game, the macro picture. And SHX has been outperforming uh, most of the market, to be honest. It's literally been outperforming XRP, Bitcoin, Velo, and nobody, not a lot of people really care. I feel like just people on Twitter for the most part, but even when I first started posting about it, when I posted that XRP similarity tweet, like SHX is gonna be this bull run's XRP, it was somewhere around here. Not a lot of people are talking about it. Now it's, all over X. So there's a lot more volume in the market. And regulations are definitely, being starting to be more things are definitely looking more lenient. Regulations are definitely coming into play. So that also increases the possibility of SHX being listed on, maybe Coinbase. Imagine Binance US, like that's gonna be crazy. So I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. And and also Caleb and Brown, because once they get listed on these big exchanges, Caleb and Brown will then um list them as well, because they basically just need the volume. I've also been told by some people that it's likely coming to Uphold very soon. So we'll see, but I wouldn't be surprised if all of that ended up leading in a, quote unquote coincidental price push, right? Because all these things are just planned way in advance. All right, Velo. So this I actually just bought some more this morning. Yeah, this is in a great spot. It's literally just if you take a look at like SHX, how it was in the made a low, accumulation, demand zone, continuation. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. So as you can see, what happened when this came all the way down last time over here back in August, it literally just started pushing after, and we just did the same thing right now. So it's getting ready to gear back up. Um, Velo was doing great. It was on a nice run for the most part. It gets some big dips, but then it recovers. But this one was way more than anticipated. But in my opinion, I think they're just gearing up for this was like a huge bear trap. So that's why I ended up just stacking more. Right now, this is the best buy in the market, in my opinion. This is the best buy in the market right now. So yeah, that's why I just keep stacking it. I'm not buying no more syrup. I'm already good with SHX. I'm not buying more SHX. Yeah, I think Velo is the best buy in the market right now. So, um, especially when in terms of ROI. So, yeah, do with that what you please, but with that information. But this is definitely looking good right here. Look at that. This is just picking up, just picking up. We ended up getting a sweep down to this little zone right here. So two things. We ended up touching this weekly zone, as you can see, touching it perfectly. And we ended up inside of this overall weekly area right here, this white box. Look, inside the weekly, look, we touched the wick, right? And not only that, we touched the 50% line, the red line. So those are all just bullish, like confirmations that this is getting ready to gear up. And then last but not least, this thing is it's reacting aggressively. It's not pumping 1,000,000% just yet, but these are the type of reactions you want to see when it hits certain levels like this. So this is a great sign. Best Buy right now. It's just an accumulation range. People probably shitting their pants, nervous, and the smart money is just fearless and just accumulating. This is definitely getting ready to gear up. And if you take a look at this zone right here, this one right here, right? Let me make it white real quick. So this specific zone, once we hit in here, yeah, it's very similar to SHX. Look how we hit inside of it, pushed inside of it, and now we're just chilling, right? This is what we want to see. This is what I've been mentioning, for weeks when it came to SHX. I was curious to see how we would react. Well, seeing this type of reaction right here, I'm very confident. I'm talking 99% confident, even 100% confident that we're gonna hit inside of here and probably just cool down in here, and that just signifies one thing: bulls in control. So, just this is a good spot to buy. That's literally gonna be like even if you buy right now at this moment, that's 100% return just to these levels. So we'll probably hit this range right here, cool down, maybe come and retrace again back down below 2 cents for a bit, and then continue higher. You'll see. You'll see exactly what I mentioned. We'll probably do something like that, probably something like that, and then continue higher. I've seen this too many times. So, yeah, and we'll see how we could, how the next 6 months can look, because this definitely did slack off in 2025. But we still got 6 months. The yearly candle is bearish. Let's take a look at the 6 month candle. The 6 month candle is bearish too. This is not more than likely is gonna close off bearish, but it can close off with a big wick as well. So, we can easily in the next 6 months get a push up here. It could be a huge 6 month candle, huge 6 month candle. And maybe, just maybe, if quarter three is strong for Velo, maybe we can break this all-time high. And then within the next 6 months, it's still a possibility. People have no clue what can happen in crypto. So I don't count anything out until we get closer and then I see it. I start adapting as time goes, but I just know what's possible. Okay, next up we got Flair. So Flair, the Flair team is grinding behind the scenes. I just keep accumulating this. This is clearly also preparing to break higher and hit this area. It's preparing to break above, 3.5 cents pretty soon. So, um, I'm just compounding this. It's a good buy. I'm just compounding it. We get paid the APY right now is roughly 30 to 40%. So it's kind of like you're just getting free money, just accumulating your delegation rewards and your flare drops, so you might as well just sit back and let that compound. All right, XDC. So this Yeah, this one's slowly gearing back up. So it swept that low. Last week we were roughly like right here, I believe. Yeah, we were like right here. We got a push, we got a retracement. It's not making more lows, so that's a good sign. It's basically just gearing up and getting ready to turn back up. If you take a look at like right here, for example, it's a perfect example. See how I made this low? Got a dip and then slowly grinded to the upside. That's exactly what's going on. We made a low, got a dip, and then it's probably gonna slowly grind, and then it's just gonna boom. That's just the characteristics that XDC has. So this is still in good hands. Likely get a push towards 10 cents on the next big push. Next, we'll probably hit like 10 cents, probably cool down there, and then we'll see. We'll see how we could look by the end of this quarter, because I was expecting us to break these all-time highs within this quarter, and I feel like, for some reason they just slowed shit down across the whole market. But remember, that can be a reason. The reason behind that can be because they're gonna extend things for maybe a few extra months. That's a possibility. It is a possibility. And think about it. If they extend the bull run just for a few extra months, not like crazy, but just a few extra months, um, what's that gonna do? A lot of people are going to sell early, right? They're gonna sell early and then they're gonna see the market continue higher. This is why knowing how to read the chart is so important. They're gonna see the prices go higher and then they're gonna want to buy back in from their FOMO. This is why it's important to know what you're doing and to just get out and get out. Don't try to go back in, because then when they try to get back in, for example, right here, let's say you sold right here and you saw the market go higher and then you saw it dump and then you saw it continuing higher. You would have thought, a rookie would have thought, oh, this market's gonna continue higher, and then they end up buying the top and then they get stuck in a bear market. So just be very cautious. The market psychologically, they know what humans like to do. The AI is controlling all this. So, you just don't want to play that game. You just got to know when to sell and just sell at the right time and play the game the right way and just sit on your hands after that. Age bar is looking great as well, similar to XDC. Um, I expect this one to also break its all-time high pretty soon. If we don't get no action, within the next couple of weeks, then I could see it in quarter three for sure. But definitely needs to turn back up because it had such great movement at the end of 2024. For 2025 to be all like this is pretty surprising, to be honest. I'm a little surprised that the first 6 months have been like this, but um that's just crypto, Like you just don't know what to expect. You gotta constantly adapt. But for the most part, the fact that it's still above these lows right here is a great sign. So, um, let's see how this one ends up closing this quarter as well. All right, so I did mention last week we were roughly inside of this area, and I mentioned, okay, remember, look, this is the base of this overall push. We just pushed all the way back down to the demand zone. And now we're pushing out of the base again. So we got a nice push out of that base, out of that demand zone. And yeah, this is looking great. It's just a few bullish candles, but this is how it starts. So this is what we wanted to see. Like, look, when literally in one day is just, engulfing days and weeks of price action. Like that's the type of pushes we want to start seeing. So look, same thing over here. It's literally within days, it just started engulfing things. So let's see if these next few days, or these next couple of weeks, we can start pushing above, 50 cents and start pushing back inside this area up here and maybe even past this all-time high. Because remember, sell is literally just stuck. I love this chart. To be honest with you guys, I love this chart. Like this is just, it has tons of history. And this applies on up here as invalidated, meaning once we push above it, we're gonna just fly through it. Like it's just gonna break an all-time high. It has no space to come back up here and reject these areas. If it was to happen, I would be surprised, but if it was to happen, it would basically just do this. The highest it would come would be here, and then come back down to touch the zone again and then go. Like basically that is just playing ping pong. This macro demand zone is looking very strong, which is why, I decided to have conviction in this specific asset and the overall narrative, right? So let's look at volume once again. Look at that. All the buying volume is literally matching perfectly with this 3 month zone. The 3 month chart on this is perfect. Perfect. So this is looking great. Let's see how this quarterly candle ends up closing in the next couple of weeks. 6 month candle. Let's see this. It's bearish right now. So we'll see what we could get. But 14 days, this still can close bullish. It still can. So, it's a low market cap coin. This thing could push 100, 200, 300% in a matter of weeks. And we got 2 weeks left this quarter. So let's see what we could get. All right, GFI quarterly candle is bullish right now. We are above this overall demand zone right here. Monthly candle is slightly bearish. Um, you can maybe come down here or it's gonna react. Give me 1 second. Yeah, overall, it's creating higher lows. So this is also gearing up to continue back up towards these areas. We'll see, because if this ends up pushing, before other assets, then I'll get rid of whatever I have left and move it over to something else. I'll see once it happens. But if it lags behind and pushes after others, then I may just reconsider and, um see what it can do. But for the most part, I do want to get rid of this. I just don't care for it anymore, which is why I sold like a large percentage over here. I still own some, but we'll see what it could do. Because let's say sell is still struggling to push higher and this ends up pushing like right here. I'm just gonna move it over to sell, So yeah, we'll see what we could get. But it is creating higher lows and it does look like it's gearing up to continue to higher price levels for sure. So it can still accumulate here for a bit, but we're definitely gearing back up. DMTR, so this one is another one pretty stagnant, still within this overall accumulation range. This is a 3 month area right here, so it's just inside of this overall accumulation range. Low market cap, so it's gonna be way more sneaky when it does wake up, but I would expect it to wake up from these ranges somewhere over here. The same way it did right here, push. We came back into this demand zone. We may come out of here within the next couple of weeks. We'll see how we look by the end of this quarter. Same thing with C pool. So this one came back in this area, pushed higher, just accumulating for the most part before it gears right back up. So this is a nice little healthy accumulation range right here, respecting these lows and then continuing, getting ready to continue higher pretty soon. Render. So this one swept a low again, the previous low, ended up touching inside of this overall weekly demand zone right here and got a reaction. So I do see this one getting ready also to pick up. So it basically made this low, swept these highs to the left, and then now came back down to this overall demand zone right here, and then gearing right back up. So in the short term, I could see this headed towards a good little $7. And we'll see. We'll see, once it picks back up, because this one's another one that's been pretty idle for the most part. And then last but not least, we got Ply. So Ply also swept the low again. Now, it got a good reaction. That was good, but yeah, the fact that we swept the low once, then we pushed higher, we swept the low again, retested this area, retested this high right here, and then we got a pretty decent reaction. So let's see if this can continue to hold up. It's not looking bad. It's not looking bad. The fact that we, got a reaction and we pushed inside of this area and now we're retesting this point right here, that's what we want to see. But yeah, this definitely like lost a bit of strength right here with this overall sweeping the low again. So we'll see. This usually follows behind XDC. So XDC is doing the same thing, just weak price action until it's not. You know, they're very sneaky. Some of these assets have sneaky characteristics to where like, it doesn't look too good. It's not reacting too nicely, and then out of nowhere it just wakes up. XDC is like that, and Ply likely is like that as well. The same thing it did right here. It was just looked horrible and then just exploded right up there. So maybe we get another few pushes all the way up to here. I did want to go over the Bitcoin dominance. So this has also been pretty idle for the most part. There's a few things that can happen. We can still hit between 66 to 68, or we could just turn from here. So we just gotta wait and see. But it's slowly like gearing up, preparing to turn back around. So um I definitely still do see it heading towards 66 though. I do see it passing this high. I definitely do. And even towards 67, 68, because I could see it hitting this area right here. So that's likely gonna happen once Bitcoin goes on its run. So likely what's looking likely is that Bitcoin's about to go on its how Bitcoin leads the way, right? Bitcoin's gonna go on its run towards 120, 130. Bitcoin dominance is gonna get a crazy push. And then it's gonna flip, and then things are gonna turn up. So that's what's looking likely as of right now. That's what I could definitely see. Other than that, we are looking great. A couple of weeks left in quarter two. Now we head into quarter three. 6 month candle will be closing. It's been a pretty quiet quarter one, for the most part. We still had some great success in um the first half of 2025, so quarter one and quarter two. We've had some great successes, even though it's been pretty quiet for the most part. We still had some great successes with Syrup, and SHX is still holding up pretty well as well. So it hasn't been too bad, but remember this one also had a head start above, ahead of many other assets. Syrup just ended up getting this head start this quarter. So XRP has been holding up extremely well. So it's like we're gearing up for this next phase. This next phase is when things are really gonna get crazy. This is why you gotta just prepare yourself. Make sure you have your off ramps prepared, everything, your securities intact. You know what you're gonna be doing, and yeah, just prepare because the next 6 months, I believe, are gonna get way crazier, and this is where things are really about to turn up. So, I just wish the best for all of you, and make sure that you are protecting yourself, protecting your assets, and making sure that you got everything set up and ready for when the time comes. I hope you guys have a great week. Any questions, let me know, and peace.